Renzo, this is probably the hardest question I've asked you so far.
Oh, okay. We're not messing around. You're starting like this?
Like this.
Okay. Well, this is how we do it at Just a Spanish Phrase. Please, Maria.
Do you believe in protests?
Do I believe?
Do you think they're effective? Do you think they're a way to achieve any change? Have you ever seen change achieved by a protest?
You know, I think for such a wise question, I have to give you a wise answer. I have to give you my attempt at a wise answer. This is a question that is answered differently at different stages of your life. I think protesting is more commonly embraced by the youth, by young people. And then as we get older, sadly, many of us lose our belief in the effectiveness of protesting.
That's a good one. And that's a good segue for our expression today, which is armarse la gorda.
Ooh, in English, literally translates to building up the fat one or the big one.
Yeah, it's like the big earthquake. They're waiting in California, but the big protests were waiting. And the reason I started this episode with that question is because I've been surprised by the lack of protests around us, considering all the things that are happening that are outrageous, and they're happening at the same time, and people are like going on about their lives like nothing. ¿Cuándo se va a armar la gorda? When is all hell gonna break loose?
That's a very good question. So to give a little bit of context, of course, armarse la gorda, which is the phrase that we are featuring today in Just a Spanish Phrase, it means that something big is coming, that a big fuss maybe is on its way. Or because in Spanish we're saying armarse la gorda is that either something is happening or going to happen soon.
Like the Arab Spring, that was a gorda. You know, it's usually like when the people like really, but in vast majorities.
And you can use it in the past tense too. You
Se
can
armó la gorda.
Se armó la gorda. Sometimes people use it to maybe figuratively to speak about like something good, like when they had a huge party. Se armó la gorda. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, no. In my case, I've only known it as a bad thing, like a big fight, like a big riot, like, oh, se armó la gorda.
Yeah, okay. So something negative like a riot, a protest, although protests are not inherently negative.
But no, of course not.
No.
If they manage to achieve change, hopefully, and not victims, hopefully.
That's what I mean. They can have negative consequences at the end when they end in violence.
Or to me, the worst consequence of a protest is nothing happening. You know, I've attended so many protests in Venezuela, and we still are at the same place after so many victims. I unfortunately stopped believing a little bit in the power. That goes back to
my answer.
Yes, I believe more in what I believe a lot of people are doing here, which is from the bottom up, but silently, like little ants, you know, like working to fight for the rights in this community or legally or activism more than going and burning things and protesting.
And that goes back to your second question about why don't we see that kind of big political action here and you were referring to the United States, right?
Or honestly, many other places where there should be more protest about what's going on.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Often, immediately I thought you were talking about the U.S. because with everything that's going on with this administration, all the rapid changes that many people are not a fan of, myself included, people compare this to what we see in Europe, for example, where we see big demonstrations, vast demonstrations, on the streets protesting government changes like this when they're unpopular.
Oh, even in Israel, we saw a huge protest against what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza. So, but I still feel is not enough. But I wonder if what would be enough of a protest. Armarse la gorda.
Well, this question can lead to hours of discussion, but I do think that there is an element of numbness
I was thinking the same. Social media numbness.
People getting, like you said, tired of not seeing change, that protest doesn't lead to anything. And also that like our news cycle moves so quickly.
And I think you were the one who sent me that article. I think it was the New Yorker or the Atlantic that said the most dangerous thing that can happen now is the normalization of violence. And that is what is happening, of violence, of autocracy, of crazy laws. When we normalize, we stop protesting. What 5 years ago sounded unthinkable now is like, oh yeah, another one.
And so in that sense, we don't really know cuándo se armará la gorda, when the big one will come, or if it will come at all.
But let's go back to the origin of the expression.
Thank you for asking, because why do we call it the big one, or literally the fat one? Well, for the origin of this expression in Spanish, we have to travel back, as usual, not too far this time, to the 19th century, 1868. Do you know what's happening in 1868 in Spain?
No.
Spanish Revolution.
1868?
Yes. The Queen Isabel II, Isabel II. The Spanish Empire is in decline. All the colonies in the Americas have been declaring independence for the last few decades. Things are not going well in Spain. And people want change. So that's what we were talking about just now, right? People want change. The feeling starts swelling up among the populations. People start organizing. Se arma la gorda. Why do they call it la gorda? Well, they called this revolution la septembrina, or la gloriosa. Septembrina, I think, because it happened in September. But in the south, in Andalusia, they refer to it as la gorda, la revolución gorda. Why? Well, some people say simply because it was big. It was the big one, like you said, like the reference to the earthquake, the big one. But others suspect that it was probably a reference to the queen herself.
I've heard that one.
Yeah, who was seen as pretty robust, overweight.
A little bit overweight.
A little bit overweight. And it's a symbol of the excesses of the monarchy, right? While the empire is in decline and the common people are hungry, the queen is fat because she has plenty to eat. So that's why Armarse la gorda was a reference to the queen, but also to the huge political movement that was swelling up in Spain.
And what I'm going to say has nothing to do with anything except for what I usually think about, how aesthetics evolve during time. You know how after Twiggy, the model in the 70s, the aesthetics became the popular aesthetics, in beauty contests or in billboards, was very skinny. Emaciated almost. But back in the day, the aesthetics, you were considered, the more weight you had, the more fat you had around you, the more beautiful you were considered, because that was a symbol of status, of
wealth,
of royalty.
Food on the table.
Exactly. So very interesting.
So in that sense, perhaps Armarse la gorda, while at the same time was a critique or a remark about the queen's appearance, it's also, the sense that gorda, fat, means positive. It means power. It means change, perhaps.
A big change is coming. Well, no matter, listeners, if you believe or not in protest, I hope you're doing what you can personally, in your small communities, in your families, wherever you are, to try to make the change you want to see in the world.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Let's end it right there. Make the change you want to see in the world.
That's not mine.
I know, but it's
works.
worth repeating. And thank you for listening to Just a Spanish Phrase. We'll be back with more phrases. And remember, News in Slow Spanish is where you can listen to these phrases used in real conversations as we discuss the news, all sorts of current events, cultural topics, political, and of course, help you learn Spanish along the way.
And those conversations will happen in Spanish. Here, this is the only place where Renzo and I speak actually English.
That's right. Come back to newsandslowspanish.com and you can hear us in Spanish.
Adios.
Bye.